Good afternoon, everyone. This is Chuck Scharnagel with TribalWise. I want to welcome you to today's webinar, Procurement and Inventory for Government, Gaming, and Tribal Enterprise. It's being brought to you in partnership with Arctic IT. During today's webinar, you're going to learn how tribal governments and enterprises are thriving with the latest ERP technology for procurement and inventory. Arctic IT's Matt Borkowski will demonstrate how these applications are flexible, scalable, and secure. Again, special thanks to our partner, Arctic IT. Our presenter, Matt, a little bit about him. Matt serves as a technology expert for Arctic IT. He spent the past 13 years implementing financial systems and business process improvements in Indian country and has emerged as an industry leader in cloud-based and on-premise systems for Native American organizations and commercial clients. Matt is frequently asked to speak at national tribal events, including the recent Microsoft Tribal CIO Summit held in Seattle. He currently lives in Austin, Texas with his wife Valerie and 2 daughters. Joining Matt today on the call is someone many of you are familiar with, Brooke Kennedy. Brooke has been working in the tribal sector since 2006. And is responsible for building relationships with tribal organizations. A reminder that the session will be recorded for unlimited future viewing. You can find it on TribalWise.com. All participants are muted, but we ask, if you have questions, please send them to us through the chat box for review at the end. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Matt and Brooke. Matt, take it away.
All right, well, thank you very much, Chuck. Very glad to be here today. Grateful for the opportunity to be with you all, and especially, I know that right now a number of you might be dealing with your own supply chain nightmares given the current coronavirus situation, and grateful for opportunity to use technology like this to connect at a time when connecting face to face is becoming harder and harder over the last couple of weeks. And with that, glad to have Brooke with me today. So Brooke, would you mind starting us off with a little about Arctic IT?
Yes, thank you, Matt. So welcome. I just want to thank you for joining us today. I'd like to take a moment to share a bit about Arctic IT, and then I'll pass it back to Matt for the demonstration. We've partnered with tribes for more than 15 years and are pleased to have client experience with 51 tribal entities across the U.S., including Alaska, where our company was born. We specialize in technology for tribes and tribal casinos, and we are a longtime partner of Tribal Hub, who brings you these TribalWise educational webinars. We are an Alaska Native corporation owned by Doyon Limited and a Microsoft Gold partner. And again, we're just really excited to be here today with you. How are we making it easier to manage your technology needs? Arctic Care is our advanced management services offering, and we have certified IT professionals on staff to take care of your network and manage your IT systems, allowing you the time to enjoy measurable advantages such as stronger security, predictable IT costs, faster support, and most of all, peace of mind. So Arctic Ascend is our business applications offering, and this includes implementation and ongoing support. We deliver scalable ERP and CRM solutions primarily in the Microsoft stack to help you centralize and modernize your workplace. And then for today, we'll begin with an overview of how we've used Microsoft technologies to help tribal entities maximize productivity. We understand there are distinct and complex finance needs in governments, gaming, and tribal enterprises. And we're excited to show how modern technology allows you to easily consolidate data across departments with real-time budgeting and reporting that really matters. I've personally spoken to many of you on this webinar today and continue to learn from you. These conversations help guide our technology offerings based on your needs. In fact, your comments and survey responses are what drove today's webinar topic. So use the chat box for questions, as we'll have a few minutes at the end for Matt to answer them. And there will also be a follow-up survey. So if you don't mind filling that out, we will use the results to determine educational topics for future webinars. Today, the highlight for the agenda is the procurement and inventory demonstration. So without further ado, I will hand it over back to Matt.
All right, thank you very much, Brooke. And again, as we start thinking about where technology is headed to help tribal governments their gaming and non-gaming enterprises, it's easiest to do so through the lens of seeing an example of a modern solution. Because the fact is, so many of us have been trapped in the way we've always done it, or what's been in use for a long time, or maybe the procurement solution we've used at the last 5 gaming operations that we've worked at. And so we don't really know what we should be thinking about in regards to how can technology truly help us move forward in providing better guest services, and just helping provide better operations for our employees and our tribal members. And so when you're looking at a modern solution, you really have to think about, what are legacy type of software? How has that been holding us back? And one of the most common things that we hear time and time again in talking with tribes and those in the gaming space is the fact that you're dealing with siloed systems, right? So you've got your financial system, and maybe some of the procurement is part of that. Maybe there's a little bit of inventory that's in that system, but almost all the time we're working with folks, especially on the gaming side, that have separate food and beverage solutions. They have separate procurement and inventory solutions, like a Stratton Warren or something like that. That's kind of been a standard, for 30 plus years, but is not modernizing and is starting to hold some people back. So you've got all of these different systems that aren't in sync. So you're waiting until month end is closed to be able to see what is our true inventory, all that kind of stuff, because they're not talking to each other. And that means that you're having to re-enter data in multiple spots, leading to manual processes in regards to confirming actual inventory amounts, making sure that you've got enough on hand to meet demands for large events coming up, things like that, making things just get out of sync and giving you less and less confidence in especially the financial data throughout the month, until you've been able to do your full month-end reconciliations and close. And that just leads for insufficient tracking as well in regards to, where is our inventory in process? What is the value of that? What about our production kitchens or other things where we're actually taking some goods that we've purchased, we're running them through processes to come out with our recipes and menus and all that in the end, as you're juggling between different systems. And trying to cover up for some of those, oftentimes you have users with access into multiple systems that maybe gives them access to data that they don't need. Trying to give access to folks that are on the go when you're using more of a legacy platform. So you're having to open ports or work really hard to stand up some other technology from an on-prem solution that's locking you or keeping you from doing things in a truly secure manner, or being able to give that on-the-go type functionality to your users, executives, and tribal council members that are asking for it. So it's more than just looking at an individual solution. What is our best procurement solution, inventory solution, whatever that might be, and saying, what is the platform as a whole that is going to going to bridge these different technology gaps that we've been suffering with legacy systems. And as a Microsoft partner, we've been implementing Microsoft solutions for years. So most of what we'll be talking about today in thinking about a modern solution will come through that lens of Microsoft Dynamics, because that's what we know well. But in general, just be thinking about the types of functionality, the types of technology, whether you were to choose a Microsoft solution or not, that you should be looking for, or questions you should be asking when you're evaluating a modern solution for procurement and inventory. Microsoft's solution to that platform situation we were talking about earlier, all those siloed systems, is what they've put into creating their Microsoft Dynamics 365 suite of applications. And just to coin a little bit of Microsoft's term, the idea is to unify the different CRM and ERP capabilities that have normally been in multiple solutions and bringing them together in one modern intelligent cloud platform to truly help realize that digital transformation that in some ways feels like a buzzword, but it is truly very descriptive of the types of transformations that are happening across the industry as folks are implementing these modern solutions. So that includes a range of applications, some things like sales, marketing, customer service, player host management, things like that. And then the finance and supply chain management, which we're focusing on today, as well as true enterprise retail e-commerce type functionality. That idea that all of these are typically multiple different solutions, being able to bring them all together on one platform. And what makes that powerful is, even though they're different applications, you've got some shared data across that. So a customer is a customer is a customer is a customer, regardless of which solution you're in, which application you're using at that time. If you are marketing to one of your key players, right, and then they work for an organization that sometimes books blocks of hotel rooms, or is ordering stuff from the cafe, some of your gift shops, all that stuff. You can have that one customer record that spans all of the applications, so that you can truly get reporting insights into what they're doing across your properties and across the different entities. Right? And with that, a solution is only good as the information you can get out of it, how helpful and insightful that information is, as well as how easy it is to use. And so having your Microsoft Office functionality that you can use right with the application, and Power BI for really the industry standard now in business intelligence sort of reporting, be all part of that stack and part of the solutions, just makes all of that easier, because now it's all on one platform, rather than having to integrate these things between 5 or 6 different solutions. And all of it is for nothing if you don't have the best security in regards to it. Microsoft, as well as Arctic IT, we are security first organizations. And so we know that every application that we deploy has to meet stringent security efforts to the highest level that the federal government puts out. To take that a step further, we mentioned that the Azure platform, the Microsoft Cloud Platform, is certified and tested, truly is used by the DoD. The highest level of security out there is all part of that Azure Cloud Platform. So it brings all the levels of security that you would need. And being on that cloud platform then allows you to have continuous operations, meaning that you don't have to worry about bringing the system down to apply updates. You don't have major upgrade projects every few years. Those are continuous. There are great controls for when to apply those and to delay things if you need, but it allows you to always be on the latest and greatest and not have to worry about major operations and maintenance and upgrades, because that's all part of that platform. You don't have to worry about, again, the unlimited storage and computing. You don't have to worry about large infrastructure and capital project outlays, because it's all part of that ongoing cloud platform that with Dynamics 365. And it can easily integrate and connect with other solutions. As much as you can bring into a central ERP and supply chain management solution, there's still going to be some best of breed, your floor gaming solutions, all that stuff, where you're going to want to bring some of that data together. And the D365 integration platform allows all that. And we'll talk a little bit more about the collaboration stuff as we go on. Now, just as a quick mention, with Dynamics 365, there are two different options for an ERP to give you some of that supply chain management functionality. Today, we will be focused on Dynamics Finance and Supply Chain, which is geared more towards that enterprise level operation. And it truly is great for the larger tribal gaming and tribal governments that are managing all of their enterprises on one ERP. We got customers that have their tribal government, their multiple casinos, and all of their non-gaming operations all on finance and supply chain management. Where for on the smaller end, maybe smaller gaming, smaller tribes, or even those that each entity needs to have its own system for one reason or another, that the business central aspect of that maybe offers a more right-sized solution for your organization. But today we will be talking mostly about supply chain management. Now, whether you're looking at Dynamics or another solution, one of the key things, again, is going back to the breaking down the silos of information across all the applications. So being able to have your financial management, your project, whether they're capital improvement projects, or even if you have, like a lot of entities like ourselves in the Alaska Native Corporation side, where you have a lot of project-based organizations providing services, construction, consulting, all that. So being able to manage those projects all within the system, fully integrated with Microsoft projects for full project management and work breakdown structures. Inventory and warehouse stuff we'll be talking about today, the reporting and analytics, but then bringing in also the customer and player management, the marketing, as well as retail and e-commerce. rather than juggling 5 or 6 systems to manage all that, looking at a platform that can bring those all into one. And with that, being on a secure cloud platform, that allows mobile functionality with the mobile apps that are there, the form factors, so you can use the full application in Safari, for instance. You can access it, be using it via tablet on the go or Android. Lots of great options there. And of course, the full-on web interface you can use on a laptop or any other device. But being able to securely access that, run your reports, get your dashboards, even enter and approve transactions from your phone if you've been allowed to do so with the configuration of it, all embedded with Microsoft Active Directory. So you have multi-factor authentication, fully encrypted. So as you're on the go, even logging in from your phone, it is validating that your organization has said that you can access and that you are who you say you are through that top of the line authentication technology. When you're looking at a modern solution and you're talking about cloud platforms, you can now start bringing in what we commonly call artificial intelligence. What does that look like actually in a system, in a modern solution? When you've got a lot of data, you've been using the system for a while, it can start analyzing trends and giving you suggestions to maybe change some of your reorder points or other things based upon forecasts or other events coming up, or let you know where you've been consistently maybe low in some areas. Just providing some true analytics to give you and insights to make suggestions on what you might want to reorder, even if you haven't hit your reorder points, just based upon trends and things that it has noticed for you. And as we said earlier, it's still one of the most common ways of communication in business is email, right? You're never going to get away from email to a certain degree. But what if you get an email from a vendor that's got an invoice attached? Why do you need to download that, switch applications, you log back in and then attach that invoice and go from there, or start a purchase order request, juggling multiple systems. With D365, since it's all part of that same Active Directory login, when you're in your email, it knows whether or not you're an authorized user of the ERP application. So being able to take an email and right from there, being able to look at, well, what is our current balance for this customer or balance for this vendor without leaving your email. You're not having to switch applications. Maybe routing that to the AP clerk for verification and attachment, or even starting approvals, all within your email, or being able to update information directly from Excel, because it knows what you're authorized to do regardless of the application that you're in. So when we get down further and talking about modern technology, we start thinking, well, what sort of specific inventory and supply chain management things should we be looking for? Can we expect to see in a modern solution like Dynamics 365? And it really starts with being able to easily maintain and categorize all of the items that you're either stocking or that you're purchasing frequently, whether they're bulk buys or things like that. More and more commonly, especially in the food and beverage standpoint, we're seeing use of commodity codes and the ability to compare items across that maybe are similar but share the same commodity code, being able to put out for bid easier based upon that. So you're not always using your own types of nomenclature for that, but using those industry standards to make communication with vendors or potential vendors much more easy, and be able to take advantage of that technology when you're looking for what to buy and what you should be paying for it. The ability to not only use manufacturer's barcodes, but your own internal barcodes. So regardless of what you're scanning, the system knows what item you're looking at, or what part of the shelf you're looking at, or what license plate you're looking at in regards to maybe stocking for later, setting aside for events. Being able to use your own barcodes as well as manufacturer barcodes throughout the system is really an absolute necessity with a modern solution these days. And then being able to set up different procurement catalogs to make it easier for your users and departments to make purchases and requests, and to make sure that they're only purchasing authorized items or authorized services to do so. So you can create catalogs and assign those by users, departments, whatever organizational structure that you want, to ensure that they're buying the right thing from the right individual, and that your buyers can help guide them to make easier decisions and to have to correct fewer mistakes. And if you have established relationships with vendors like Cisco or other food and beverage providers that are maybe weekly providing you updated lists of items they have, as well as the prices and costs and everything for that. Being able to automate the update of those vendor catalogs, so with effective dates and as part of that, so your users, when they're going in, maybe making a purchase for next week, you know what that price will be next week or what it will be this week, just based upon the different effective dates that you're getting from your vendor catalogs. And being able to take your planning beyond just minimum reorder points or maximum reorder points, but truly maybe have forecasts in there for large events and other things coming up that your department managers or event planners are putting into the system, so that the system can automatically make some suggestions or create demand planning for you. So you're ordering not just for your normal quantities, but also what you want for seasonalities or other sort of big events coming on. And once you've got those items in there and folks start making those purchases, how do you facilitate that and making it easier, and also make sure you're getting the best price for those? A technology that's been around for a while, but few folks and few systems have made really good use of it, is this idea, what's commonly called vendor punch out or an external catalog. And that truly is where you have an established relationship with a vendor, that when your users go to create a requisition, they can, right from that requisition, be taken out to the vendor's website, be able to peruse the vendor's website for the items or things in there that you've authorized them to, or maybe their whole website if you allow. And then when they're done with that online shopping experience, rather than placing the order, it brings that back into the system with all that information as part of that requisition. So now when the rest of that requisition goes through and is approved, it transmits that PO digitally right back to the vendor's website and starts the order process. And more, we're seeing that be a requirement, and something that new technology like Dynamics 365 is offering to really help your users make great purchase decisions. And then being able to fulfill those requests from inventory and stock, or if you need, send that out for new purchase or replenishment of those stocked items, or turn those requests into an RFQ and publish that to a vendor portal so folks can submit their bids electronically, giving you a great easy view of who's giving you the best bid. And you can require different justifications and things for that to make sure that it's more than just the lowest price, but maybe also the quality type of assurances that you need to establish your contracts, your purchase agreements, and make sure that you're getting what you need for the best price and quality. And then consolidate any of those requests come through into single POs or single order requests or other things, so you're not having to juggle as many pieces of paper, if you will, digitally being able to fill those requests in the most efficient manner that you're getting through the system. And finally, when those goods come in or when you're getting ready to ship those out, you need to be able to track those well and gain full control over that inventory in your warehouse. So that can be tracking that not only via different sites and locations, but when you start thinking about having an all-in-one solution, those sites and locations can also be the individual venues. You know, if you've got a gaming operation with 6 or 7 restaurants or bars in there, and you want to know, how I live in Austin, as Chuck said earlier, so I'm a big Tito's fan, right? If you want to know how many Tito's do you have in each of your venues, being able to see that from one spot and track that inventory across different locations, bins, license plating for big events, things like that, and having that mobile functionality to make all of that easier. So regardless of where you are in the warehouse or in the property, being able to scan, pick, confirm, deliver, all that stuff right from mobile functionality, using a standard mobile phone device, or getting tablets, or you're using big scan guns or things like is maybe most helpful inside the warehouse itself. And then taking that a step further in regards to proactive and reactive work order management. And when I say proactive, that's not only just in regards to the idea of setting up maintenance schedules and having those maintenance schedules automatically create and assign work orders for work on that, but as we look at new technology and we hear about the Internet of Things commonly being in place now, more and more often when you've got key equipment that is that you need to monitor for your organization, if you have some sort of monitoring solution with that, that telemetry data, as it's called, what's gathering that data, maybe picking up any error messages off of that. Dynamics 365 can read those error messages and automatically trigger work orders to be taken, so you can go and very quickly correct equipment failures or potential equipment failures, because that Internet of Things, again, technology is recognizing that something's not right, and now we can route that to be adjusted and corrected. So again, as we've talked through as a whole, what sort of things you should be looking for and expecting in a modern solution. It's one thing to see some PowerPoint slides, but we're going to spend a little bit of time here diving in and getting an idea at a high level of what that solution can look like. So I'm going to quickly switch here and log into Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management. With Dynamics 365, we're taking a look at the supply chain management functionality, but it's all part of that same system with all the finance functionality as well. So because I'm a power user, when I log in, I see things like bank management, right? So bank management wouldn't be something that your supply chain management team is necessarily using, but it's also a great way of seeing kind of how the navigation of this works. The idea of bringing the most commonly used types of functions. In this case, importing bank statements, reconciling my bank accounts, creating bank transactions and transfers and those things, but also using that Power BI functionality to bring in your most commonly used graphs and charts. And they're not just static information. As I'm taking a look at this balance and I wonder what the heck happened to my cash that day, I can drill down from here and see those actual transactions. I can see that because Matt uses his demo environment quite a bit, I processed a $1.8 million check right here, and I had a bunch of other things happening that day. And from here, I could see, okay, well, what was on that check, right? And continue to drill down and see that information from a financial side. The only reason I showed that same sort of bringing everything together in these workspaces to provide you the most easy access to that information that's used throughout the application, including the procurement and supply chain management side. But it's more than just making it easy to use when you're logged into the full web frame. All of these workspaces is also how you control what's used on the mobile side. So as an administrator, I can select which of these workspaces I want on the mobile app. Maybe I don't want budget planning to be done via the phone or be done through that, but I do want someone to be able to monitor our shipments that's going out today, or be able to monitor the master planning, what's happening in our production kitchen, that sort of thing today. Any of these can be published to the mobile app. So as an organization, you can control what is and what functions are available via mobile and which aren't, as well as being able to use the full Azure setup to control where they can use those, if you want to use what's called geofencing or other sorts of access controls to make sure that users can only access what you say they can, when they can, and where they can access it from, even though you're using a cloud application. Why don't we take a look at as a workspace that's a little bit more designed for the inventory and procurement side of things. So I'm going to go into my category and product management. And this is just a simple way where I can come in and see what I've said I want to have most quick access to when I come to this. Because you see, all of this has this idea of configuring my workspace. There's a number of out-of-the-box workspaces, but these can all be very easily dragged and dropped, have fields, other reports added to make it most useful for the roles that folks are fulfilling. So in this, I can see which things are that I need to be working on. If I'm on the retail side and I'm adding sizes and colors or breaking things out into different kits or assortments, establishing and printing my barcodes, generating those here, just some of the most commonly used items or spaces, excuse me, for maintaining my items. But I'm just going to take a look at my HDMI cables that I've got right here. So this is opening up my product page, giving me all the information I have for these items that we're either using and buying ourselves, or we're selling these. Maybe this is part of something that we're doing for our customers, because this is all in one spot for how you can manage not only retail type goods, but also your consumables, food and beverage, things that you're using as an organization. So at a high level, being able to set up what we want to maintain for and control how we purchase something. If we're using marketing. We want to promote these, use coupons, all those sorts of stuff, control how it's delivered to us, how we sell it to other folks. You're managing those costs, which projects are we using these things on? And these are all high level aspects that you could drill down on to see more information. But also, where does this get coded to? From a general ledger perspective, which cost categories and cost groups these all go through. Things that you would expect to be able to have inside of a modern inventory solution. But then also taking that a step further with where in the warehouse are these things being stored, or the multiple warehouses are we being stored? And knowing that if folks are looking at this on the mobile device, there's just not as much real estate on there. So maybe we want some shorter or separate descriptions that only show up on the mobile device, just to help those folks that are fulfilling those orders, managing the warehouse functionality as part of that, right? Or controlling which buyer group has control of those. So for instance, frequently we have things like who has control over the buying for the supplies and everything for our IHS clinic, or the food and beverage purchasing, all those things, depending upon where you're fulfilling those. Being able to establish and control that to make sure that it's as easy as possible to manage everything, all the items that you're purchasing and selling. And to simplify a lot of that, we can come in and take a look at some of the other aspects of this, like the categories. I mentioned earlier that this can be used for, you can manage not only your consumables or what you're using internally, but also what you're selling, right? So we get to this idea of my product categories. I have both our office supplies. This is an HDMI cable. We use these throughout the facilities ourselves all the time. But maybe we're also selling this via our e-commerce store, in my example, where for my internal procurement, for the folks that are buying stuff for our internal office supplies, anyone that can make selections from our office and desk categories and see the commodity code there, or desk accessories, can make this purchase. But also, if we want this to automatically be added to our online category, our online catalogs for folks making those orders externally, it'll update that as well. So being able to control that all within one space, even when that item is serving multiple purposes in the organization. Of course, some simple things like unit conversions. You buy these or sell these, you buy these in a box, and most commonly there's 12 in a box. When those come in and you receive those, you actually have 12 of them, so that you could consume those or sell those as 12, but you're buying those in a box. Just some of those standard unit conversions and things that you would expect. But that idea of managing across all of your properties, being able to see where the product is, how many you have, going a step further, let's just take a look at what we've got on hand. And in my sample environment right here, I've got this currently in three different sites across, three different warehouses across 2 different sites. So in my example, a site might be just a completely different location, completely different building, or maybe a different company, but also which warehouse in that is it stored in, and how many do we have in each? And also, where do those numbers come from? So I see here, I currently have 10 in warehouse 24, but if I look at those transactions, I can see we've got a purchase order that's just in order status for 88. So I know I've got 88 coming, but I can see the original inventory adjustment that gave us the 10 that we currently have. When we get those receipts, when we make sales or they're used, transferred, all of that seen in one place. And if you are using this across all of your entities, your multiple gaming locations, or the same item is being purchased across your non-gaming operations, that sort of thing, being able to, if you're authorized, be able to see which other companies. I only have this in my one company right now, but in one spot, if you're authorized, you could see we also have this item other places. So maybe at the tribal government, being able to see what is currently on hand for some of these things at in the gaming operations, and being able to make intercompany requests if you wanted to enable that in your system. So you can see where it is, not only across your multiple properties, but then also across multiple entities and companies as well. So once you have those items and you're tracking the different data that you need about those, you get to the larger things, some of your inventory, your equipment purchases, maintaining your safety data sheets, other things like that, OSHA requirements that might be specific to these, your full tracking of the capabilities that you might need, regardless of what you're using that inventory for. Now that you've got the items that you want to purchase, let's take a closer look at how some of that purchasing process flows. And in that, I'm going to go to my, excuse me, I'm looking at my workspaces. I'm just going to go to more of a traditional modular approach. So this is where taking a look at the Dynamics 365, all in one system, you've got the APAR asset management, that'll make sense. You start bringing into things like your budget planning, your cost allocations and management for maintaining how your production kitchens or other things, all the costs that are part of that, your fleet management, which vehicles do we have, who's got them reserved right now, expense and travel management, fixed assets, of course, uh, and lots of other aspects that make up a true full ERP solution. Let's take a closer look at the procurement and sourcing side and the various functions that we've got available in that, or what you should be looking for in a modern application. Some of that starts with those procurement catalogs we discussed earlier. So at a high level, procurement catalog is more of an internal catalog, something that's set up to allow you to control who can purchase what and to make that process easiest for them. These can be as free and open as you want, or you can restrict and control these as much as you want to make that easier. And you can link those to your procurement categories. So you're not always having to go in and maintain or update a catalog every time that you add something new. But this can control who can order what from when and where, and then to show them latest costs in that and giving them more of a true shopping sort of experience. And we'll see that in a little bit when we take a look at a requisition. A vendor catalog is more of maintaining and how you upload and the frequency with which you do so for catalogs that are provided from your vendors. So we see this a lot in the food and beverage space, maybe in CDW in the IT procurement space, but any catalog that if you are getting some of those industry standard type files from your vendors can be set up to update on a frequent basis. You're looking out to a certain location for that file, bringing those in so you've got the latest inventory information and options from your vendors, as well as those prices and costs that you've negotiated. And the external catalogs, I'm just going to open that up just to, because there's all kinds of different names that this is called by. But this is, again, that idea of being able to browse out to a vendor's site to be able to see that. And that is all controlled through the CXML setup. So we list this here. CXML is an industry standard. And most your major retailers will have all this ready to go. Again, we see this frequently with Amazon, Cisco, other sorts of those frequent purchases where you want to be able to go out and browse a website, especially on the IT side, to be able to make some selections. And you can control what departments can select. So a great example might be if you have a CDW account and IT, they've said these are the 5 different laptops that we have approved for procurement. Then giving someone that ability to go out and browse the website for those 5 laptops that have been approved, make that selection to try to reduce that shadow IT where departments are purchasing their own stuff without running it through IT. And IT can make sure that all of the proper standards are being met through the procurement process. Now, once those items have been made available, you've got the catalogs, that's where some purchase requisitions then can start. I've just got a very simple one. I've been loving that idea of my HDMI cables, as I've been talking about. Go ahead and open up just a very basic request that I started. And in my system, my name is Brad Sutton, and I work in the budgeting department. So I'm just starting this saying that what my dates are for this and saying that we need some HDMI cables because we're connecting all the monitors, in our conference room. Right? I could see any history of what's happened and everything here, but the real power then starts happening at the line level. And this is where I'm saying, look, for finance, I'm requesting 5 of these HDMI cables. Now down below, with any line item that's been added here, for instance, if I came here, just said I want to add an item, this is where that external catalogs come in. If I wanted to browse, I don't have any configured, but if I wanted to browse Amazon and be able to bring all that through, I could click on the external catalogs here. Or if I want to add a product from a procurement item that I said earlier, here is that procurement catalog, that office and supplies catalog that we had set up earlier. And by selecting down on the office and desk supplies, based upon that category, I see those HDMI cables that I had said earlier. So this is how you can enable some of that procurement catalog functionality to make that shopping, that request experience that much easier, and be able to review this with your, make that easier with your team as they're making those purchases. And then on those line items, the ability to not only add some descriptions or other information of what they want. If they know who the vendor is, they can put that right now. If you've defaulted that in your setup, that's great. Maybe the buyers are the ones making that determination. But if it's a project related, be able to tie this request to a specific project, activity, procurement category, all these things that are part of that project. Is this going to be a fixed asset? Does it meet, see, this is just a small purchase, so these are grayed out at this time. It doesn't allow me to fill that out because it doesn't meet our procurement categories, as this is only a $96 purchase, right? But being able to route all of that through and be part of our requisition process. Also doing budget checking. It'll let me know if we had any budget, where if this would put us over budget. And this wouldn't, but I also want to show that idea right here where it says create budget request. So often, if you have budget controls turned on in a procurement system, you either have to allow an over budget purchase within a threshold, or you have to reject those at some point. And then you have to go through a separate budget request process and come back. Well, with Dynamics 365, if this purchase isn't within the current budget, I could create that budget request here and have the budget request be routed. And then as soon as that is approved for whatever justifications I've given it, now my purchase that is earmarked towards this purchase, and I can go ahead and make that request because that budget has been approved, bringing the budget and request purchasing process all together, because again, it's all part of one system. And then being able to submit that through the workflow process once I'm ready. And maybe that requisition is something that that the buying group or procurement needs to do something else with. So maybe that involves taking that and submitting that through an RFQ process. If I just take a look at a very simple RFQ here, this is for a simple update to our conference rooms. And we've said that, look, we want to put out for bid the idea of 10 of these HDMI cables, 5 whiteboards, and 6 paper shredders. Just a very simple thing. And just like in the requisition below, I can have the different dimensions, requirements, things that I have. I can require different sorts of justifications, different types of quotes from our bidders. And then when this is done, while I could do a more traditional, send paper versions of this where folks are responding, or you're managing that outside of the system, the power really comes into the fact that this then publishes it out to a vendor collaboration portal. And the idea of that vendor collaboration, go down and open that up, is this being a cloud-based system, you can then connect your vendor accounts with the contacts that work there. Establish those vendor collaboration users so that folks can come in to receive their purchase orders. You most commonly use vendors. They come out, they get their purchase order, they confirm that yes, we're good to go, we can deliver this, thank you. They can, for instance, submit their invoices right through this portal. They can see that they're just working on one right now. They put in a draft attached, but they haven't submitted it to you yet. This is still on the vendor side. They can see that they've got 15 invoices that are approved and not paid. And if you give them access, drill in and see the information about that inside the system, as well as that idea of being able to see that there are 8 invoices that have recently been paid. So maybe you're cutting down on those requests about payment. They can come in and submit those all right from here. Also being able to submit their vendor bids, bring all that. So managing that electronically via the cloud-based portal there. Then have those establish your buying agreements or those things. Taking a look at the time here, I believe we do have just another quick minute where I could then show what that subsequent agreement might look like. So I look at my purchase agreements. These can be your different contracts just to fulfill services. You can have your project-related contracts and services for your remodels or things like that. In this case, this is just a sample blanket purchase order, just a very simple blanket purchase order for some Microsoft Surface devices. Maybe IT is folks are looking to deploy this for all of your player hosts, so they have that information with them on the go. So overall, you said that over this year we want to buy 100 of these, right? And so, but with that, because we have that, we're allocated to a 10% discount from that normal price to give us our total net. So now we've got just the standard one line sort of simple purchase agreement. But then down below, throughout the life cycle of it, every time a requisition is made off of this purchases agreement and a PO is created, I can see that for now we've released, so we've ordered 25 of these. We still have 75 remaining. We haven't received or been invoiced for any of these. Which projects have these requests been associated with? Where is this being charged to? Other dimensions we want to track, color, size, style, which warehouse do we want these initially to be shipped to? All those sorts of things can be maintained throughout this. You can keep that sort of budget capture for your blanket purchase orders if you desire, and be able to purchase off of that or requisition off of that as you go throughout the year. Maintaining that lowest price that came out of your RFQ process or something that you just agreed to outside of an RFQ. All right. Now, we could spend 2 days just diving through procurement and inventory, looking at a systems. That was just a really quick highlight of some of the functionality that is enabled with a modern solution like Dynamics 365. So we step back into for a couple more slides here, and then we'll open it up for some questions here at the end if folks have. A final note regarding functionality that's now available with a solution like D365. This kind of closes the gap on conversations that we've had after working in the gaming space for years. And that is really being able to bring your entire food and beverage operation into a single unified platform where you don't have to have an infogenesis, you don't have to have different point of sales or menu management solutions. They can all be part of a single application, a single solution like Dynamics 365. So part of this has been enabled with the lifestyle Dynamics 365 partner solution that now offers the ability to using the D365 functionality, set up your menus and have that flow all the way through that retail point of sale experience. So that you can have that be your true point of sale solution at your venues or at your retail locations. You're not managing those and having your different unconnected solutions. Being able to manage a production kitchen. If you've got a kitchen that's creating all of your soups is probably the most common example I've heard, and delivering those to all the various venues, to your bistros, to your cafes, your buffets, those sorts of things. You can manage that, taking the raw goods, running that through the process to create the final recipes and deliverables that are being requested by your venues, and managing that cost and charging those costs back to the proper venue or department that's requesting it. Right, and then building out that demand planning of saying, look, we've got an event coming up. We know we're going to need a lot more, just using my example of soup, than we normally do. So we're going to need to order more and have that ready to go in time because we know how long it takes us to create that much soup because we've set that up in our production kitchen management. That bleeds into that full point of sale functionality that I mentioned earlier with a true point of sale experience, but then also bleeding into the e-commerce functionality, where with one spot you can add items to your gift shops or maybe an online cultural store that you have available for folks, all within that one spot that automatically decrements that inventory. So you don't have to wait until month end when you can actually convince the folks running those venues to do an inventory count. You get that information real time, regardless of the venue that you're in. And we all want our guests spending as much time out on the gaming floor as we can, not standing in line waiting for their food, especially at your cafes or your quick service spots. So being able to have like those self-service kiosks where they're coming through, just placing their orders there and being alerted when that's ready, or even using a mobile app so they can place their orders via that, be alerted when their order's ready, go pick it up and get back to the gaming floor as soon as possible, or enjoying some of the other facilities and entertainment that your properties offer and not clogging up the food court. The ability to use the modern functionality to bridge those gaps that we've just always assumed you kind of have to have 5 or 6 systems to do all this, but with a modern platform being able to bring all that into one fully integrated solution. And obviously, as a Dynamics partner, as someone that's drank a lot of the Microsoft Kool-Aid over the last 15 years, it's easy for me to say that these sorts of solutions help everyone. But a completely independent company called Nucleus Research just recently published an article where they evaluated the ROI of Dynamics. And so true implementation of a modern solution and their research. So if you go out, you can find this easily online. It showed that it was $16.97 of ROI for every dollar spent on the Microsoft Dynamics solution. So it's something we're really excited about, the way forward with Microsoft, and to be working with folks like yourself to help take advantage of modern technology. So with that, I want to say thank you for listening through this for the last 45 minutes or so. And we want to open it up for questions for the team.
Matt, that was great. We appreciate everything that you had to say, including what Brooke talked about in the beginning as well. The first question is, you touched on D365 and a lot of different things that it can do. How does D365 scale for organizations? Is it good for a small organization as well as large? And then how do you define small and large?
Good question. In regards to the ERP side of things, that's why Microsoft there's the two applications of D365, the Business Central and the Finance and Supply Chain Management. So between those two, that kind of helps scale the needs and the prices and the costs and maintenance of a solution of that size. Microsoft's official stance is you have to have at least 20 fully licensed finance or supply chain users to even use finance and supply chain management. So if your team of buyers and finance team is fewer than 20, then it's probably too big for your operations, and that's where the Business Central comes in. Beyond there, having that enterprise class in financial and supply chain management, I mean, there are worldwide users using it. They have well over 1,000 users interfacing with that application in one way, shape, or form. When you take a look at the other non-ERP capabilities of the CRM, customer service, marketing, and what we've implemented on top of that for the tribal government side, what we call our tribal platforms for enrollment, family, social services, courts, education, that sort of thing, that can really be scaled to any size. There's no limits or minimums in how many users can be deployed with that. And so we've had some enrollment departments as few as 1 or 2 folks using it, or those that are using it across education, family services, and enrollment that have 30, 40 folks that are in there each and every day processing transactions.
Great. So I know this is a difficult question for you, but if you could take a stab at it, what is the effort to get D365 up and running and then to maintain? So, how long, how many people, obviously it varies from implementation to implementation, but maybe you can share some experiences and what you see.
Yes, great question. And because we focused today on that finance and supply chain management side, I'll direct response more specifically to that. But from an effort and time perspective, I mean, it is a true enterprise solution. So there's a lot of training involved. There's a lot of configuration involved, and you need to make sure that it's set up correctly. So there's a lot of just that business process back and forth of configuration, testing, training, making sure that the users, when it's live, are fully ready to go and it's meeting all those expectations. I mean, we've done implementations in as few as 6 months, but I'd say the ideal scenario, especially for those that are bringing in multiple entities, can be anywhere from 12 to 18 months. And that also depends on how much functionality you're bringing on and the availability and the amount of time that you all can dedicate towards it. Because oftentimes it's not a matter of how much consulting resources we can throw at it, but you all still have your daily jobs that you have to do in operating in your old systems while implementing a new one. So we often recommend a full 12 to 18 months for deployment of that enterprise level ERP.
Excellent. Matt, thanks a lot. That's all the questions that we have today. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience?
Just to wrap up again, just say thank you very much for the opportunity. It is an honor for us to work in this industry, if you will, to work in and amongst the tribal community as a tribally owned enterprise ourselves. We thank you for the opportunity to be here today and look forward to having deeper conversations with you all at TribalNet conferences and other avenues in the near future.
Matt, thanks again. Brooke, thank you. We appreciate your time today. I just want to remind everybody, this was our 7th webinar of 2020. It's been a great year so far, and we've got a lot more to go. We've got one on March 24th, turning breaches into cash, March 26th, protecting the tribal network, and May 12th, building low code, no code with Power Platform for Tribes. So we've got a lot going on. We encourage you to get signed up and registered, and we look forward to talking to you during all those. And just a further reminder that if you have any training requirements or needs, give us a yell at TribalWise. We'd be happy to help you out. We appreciate everybody's time today and look forward to seeing you on March 24th. Have a great day.
Thank you much.
Thank you.